I'm ready to show you how to make this wreath. It's easy, it's fun. Let's get started. The first step you're going to do is you want to count the pegs or the pine that are on your wreath. So like this is 1 group, 2 groups, 3 groups. Mine has 18 different groups of pine. So what I did is I cut my 2 bolts of mesh, my hot pink and my gray, into 18-inch pieces, and I cut 18 pieces of each because I have 18 pegs. If you're just doing one color, then you're going to cut it into a yard piece, which is 36 inches. But this one we're using 2 colors of mesh, so 18 inches each. For the ruffle technique, what you do is you kind of straighten it out a little bit. And what I'm gonna do is take one end and fold it over, so it goes that way, and then I flip it so the fold is against the table. And I kind of find the middle. It doesn't have to be the exact middle, but I just keep gathering it like an accordion. But this end, again, we want it to fold over so you don't see the cut frayed edge. So once you've done a ruffle, it kind of looks like a little butterfly. Okay, now the trickiest part is that we're gonna hold each color as we go. You can try to find something and set it aside, but I promise it's really easy to keep holding it and still do the other color. So I'm gonna grab my gray piece. Again, I start with folding it over like that, so you're not gonna see the raw edge. And you're gathering down the length of the mesh. You're not going from short end to short end, but long ends. And you just kind of find the middle. You're going to gather it, pucker it, gather it. And this part, remember, is folded down. And then you take the 2 colors together just like that. Now, when I start my wreath, I'm starting on this back. I'm going to ignore this inner ring right now. I'm gonna work on this back ring. And I open up my pine and I lay my mesh this direction. So the sealed edges are going this way. One color's towards the inner, one color's towards the outer of the wreath, not this way going side to side. So my gray is gonna be towards the middle of the wreath, my pink is the outer. I take my pine, do a tight twist around, and then I pull it one more time, twist. And once I think it's pretty secure, I take both of my pines and I'm gonna kind of poke them inward so you don't see them later. Then what you wanna do is you're gonna take your mesh and you want to kind of open it up so you can really see the color, where together it almost forms a full circle. So you just want to kind of play with it so you can see them just like that. And really that's all we're going to do for this wreath. We're just going to repeat it all the way around. So again, I'm going to grab a piece of the pink, fold it in like that, flip it over and gather it. Okay, here's this other cut end. Remember, you don't want to see the cut end, so you flip it under and then just scoop it in just like that. Okay, now grab your other piece of mesh, kind of unwind it, make a little fold. It doesn't have to be even. Flip it over and just kind of ruffle it. Some are tighter, some are looser. It's not an exact science, it's just for fun. Okay, and then we're going to put them together. Now, do you remember last time we put the gray on the inside and the pink was on the outside? This time, you want to do the opposite. We're gonna have the pink in and the gray out. And we're going to the pine that is right next to the one. Don't skip any. So you're gonna go in like this. Again, take your pine, cross and pull, single twist, and poke them in. Now you're gonna take them, pull them out so it really forms a circle. But be sure that you don't pull the loose raw edge out again. You still want to keep it folded. So you're grabbing more of the gathers rather than the end. You kind of take the one next to it. And the reason we go this direction is so the edges meet each other. You don't want any gaps between your groupings. Okay, so we're gonna go to the next one. I like to open my pine before I grab my mesh because your hands are gonna be full. So you're gonna grab the pink, fold it over, flip, grab your gray, now for this wreath, This is one of our Valentine's Day kits that comes with all the stuff you need. And this one is using the burlap and the fabric mesh, which I love because it has a lot of body, but metallic would work. Really, you can use any type of mesh for this wreath, the ruffled technique. Okay, so I have both of them together again. Now this time my gray is going to be on the inside again because I had just done the pink on the inside. So it's going to go right next to it, nice and tight, and twist and then tuck. And make sure they're tight so you can't pull your mesh out of the wreath. Get your little raw edges covered. Pull them so you see it. Just kind of like that. Any loose pieces, just pull right off. I love the ruffled because it turns really full really quickly. And oh, like I said, you could do 2 colors, 1 color, but it's just a very different look than the rolled, which I like too. All what mood you're in. So hold. Grab your other color, fold it, and flip it. Together. I did gray on the inside last time, so this time I'm going to do pink. Do my twist and pull, tuck them back in, and then pull like that. Okay, now we're going to start on the top inner ring. We're doing the exact same technique. Grab a color, any color you want. And you just do the exact same thing you've already done for 10 times. Going to gather. Make your little butterfly. Flip it over. And you know, I tend to do it holding like one and doing this with the one hand, but what you can do is just, once you've folded the edge over, you can just kind of put it next to it. You can do it differently, but, and then just continue as if it's one piece. Then you can use both hands like that. So whichever way works for you, there's no right or wrong. Now, since it's our first one on top, it doesn't matter which one you're putting on the inside and which one's on the outside. So we're just going to pick, I chose gray to go in the middle, is the way I was holding it, no rhyme or reason. These, and then now you want to not tuck them. Don't tuck your pine yet, because we're gonna use them for the ribbons that we're gonna put on top. So we're gonna go right next to it, doing the same things. Going to take this and fold. Take your gray, fold your edge over, put it right next to the pink, and act like it's one. Okay, we'll teach you all sorts of tips and tricks. You see what makes it the most fun for you. Okay, we're putting it in the pine right next to the one we did. Same way, tight and twist. But don't tuck, leave them. But you do still want to go through and pull your edges out so it's still nice and fluffy. Look how full, I love. Okay. I love all wreath making. I was like, oh, I love this style, but I tend to say that on every style we make. I love it. Okay, back to business. The gray one, fold it under, and together, and fold. I did the pink, so gray next. Now, the inner ring is a smaller circle, so sometimes it gets a little harder to put it on next to it. So what you want to do is just kind of push it up and force it in there, which is good because the more that you have to kind of push it out of the way or kind of squish it in there, that means it's going to be a fuller and fuller look, because your two sides are hitting each other, which is leaving no empty space, which is exactly what we're going for. Pull them out, make everything sure it's changeable, interchangeable. So we're switching them back and forth. Alternating, not interchangeable. Check your mesh, do your final fluffing. Nice and perfect. We still see our pine because we're going to use them. It's already so beautiful, so full. But wait, there's more. We're not done yet. We are still going to add our ribbons. Now, like I said, all ribbons can be different and it's very unique to you. But since we're making this one from one of our kits, what we're going to put on top is we have 9 different styles of ribbon, different patterns of ribbon. So what we're gonna do, and I already did this so you don't get bored watching me, I've cut my ribbons into 12-inch pieces. And I have 3 different groups of ribbon, and each group of ribbon is going to have 3 patterns, hence the 9 different ribbons. So here are my 3 different groups of ribbon. What I'm going to do, I did this beforehand too, but let me show you just to make sure. You know, we love fray check here. Fray check is just a sealant. We put it on the edges of our ribbon. We don't do it on mesh so much. If your mesh is fraying, you know, it's the wood burner that really does great. And we're gonna have a tutorial on how to do all of that also. But for ribbon, I prefer fray check over heat sealing it or using a lighter or anything like that. Because all you do is you just punch a hole into your fray check and you just run it on the edge of your ribbon like that. And now your ribbon will always look like a fresh, clean cut. You've gone through all of this work to make this beautiful creation. I don't know, I really think that this one little step makes your wreath last so much longer and always looks new. So I already did that. I run it on the edges of all my ribbons, and it's not a glue, so you can just set it right down and it won't attach to anything. So what I'm gonna do is, here's my groups, group 1, group 2, group 3. And I'm going to take from my group 1, I have 3 different patterns of ribbon. What I do with 2 of them is I'm going to make an X, and then the 3rd piece just goes right up and down to create like this nice little star. Now, next time you do this group, if you want to change it, change the order, that's not a big deal. You totally can. All that really matters is that it's always these 3 patterns together and then these 3. That way your ribbons are always really nice and assorted all the way around. And again, we don't get that polka dotted look. But I adore this XO heart one. So he's gonna be my top for this group. So what I do is where they're all intersecting right in the middle, still have a little star shape, but I just kind of squish them all together. And I'm going to find the pine of the wreath. And if this one is too short, what I do sometimes if it's too short, I untwist it once and I'm gonna put my ribbon right in the middle. And then I'm going to twist my my pine twice, and then I'm done with it, so I'm going to tuck it underneath. Now I go and I touch each little ribbon, and I kind of give it a little fold up, since you only want to use wired ribbons for wreaths. But it gives it a nice little curve, and you make sure that you can see all 3 ribbons evenly. Now I'm gonna go to my next group. Now this one, I like all of them, so I might switch it up which time I'm gonna do first, which one's on top. But again, you make your X, you put your one right on top so it makes a star across, and then you just kind of squish them together. And we're going to go to the pine right next door. You're going to put it right on top. This one seems longer, so I don't have to untwist it. On top, double twist, poke it down, and then remember, go and touch each ribbon. You want them to make sure they each have their own spot, because if they're covering one, you don't see the pattern of ribbon, and they're all beautiful, so you don't want to cover them. But number 2, giving them each their own space makes your wreath look like it has so much more ribbon and it's so much more full. So you want to do that. Okay, so we've done group 1, group 2. Now we're going to go to group 3, where you're going to make an X, and then your top one goes on top. This time I'm putting my wide one on top, but I think it's so beautiful that I just really want it to be showcased for this group. Maybe next time I'll put polka dots on top, because I really like polka dots too. Now I have my ribbon going this way around the wreath and not in and out. Again, I like my ribbons to touch because it gives the illusion that there's so much more in there and there's no empty space. So you do that, twist, give it that little bit of fold. Oh, one was hiding, so you kind of pull it out. Okay, so we've done all 3 groups. What's next? You just start over. So it just kind of goes in a round. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. This sequin ribbon. They're all so pretty. I love this one. I want this one on top. But since this is a Valentine's Day wreath, I am going to keep my heart ribbon on top for this group each time, but alternate my other 2 groups. So we have one group left, but you'll notice in our kit that you have extra ribbons left. Don't worry about it. We give you the same amount of ribbons because, like I said, you can do so many different styles with our kits. So whatever style you did, if you have some extra, you can just spread them around. Or for like this one, I'm just gonna pick my favorite 3 ribbons and just gonna make an X with them and throw them in. Remember, no rhyme or reason, personal preference, just fun. And so with your extra 2 pieces of ribbon, like I have 2, you'll probably have 3 left over. You can really do whatever you want. Just keep going. Okay, so with these, maybe I could throw them in later, put them in back, but right now, I don't think my wreath needs any more. It looks super full and good to go. So I can just save these for another project, toss them, do whatever you want with them. Okay, so now you could be done with your wreath. You could add a ready-made sign, you could add a bow, you could just, I mean, it's beautiful as is. But for this one, what we're gonna do is we're actually going to make our own accent or decor. So what we're gonna do is we're starting with a wreath base. Let me move my wreath out of the way for now. I'm gonna start with a wreath base, our heart, and this little ribbon that comes with it. Okay, see how I started unwinding it? You don't want to. You want to leave your ribbon rolled because we're going to be waving it around. So what I'm gonna do is I have the end that's open and I'm going to start kind of just on the side of my heart and put some hot glue. Now, if you are using our kit or you're doing exactly the same, this ribbon is a little sheer or see-through. So be careful when you glue that you're not injuring yourself. You don't want to make it go all the way through to your flesh. So just kind of go around it and be careful. Especially if you're using hot temp glue, it will blister you. I use the low temp, which means I won't get as many blisters, but I do have to work a little faster. So I have a little fold like that. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my ribbon around like this, and you want to kind of overlap it a good amount. This is a 4-inch wide ribbon, so it gives you plenty of room to play with, but you're just going to keep doing this around and around. And even though it looks pretty sheer, as you can tell, once you keep wrapping it, it's not gonna be see-through anymore. Okay, so you're gonna pull it like this. You're gonna go around. Now curves get a little tricky, but we use a really textured ribbon, so if there's a few folds in it or where it overlaps, you can't tell. So you're just gonna keep pulling it nice and tight all the way around your wreath. Kind of go like that. You can pull it out a little bit as you go. Just keep pulling. And you want to make sure you keep the shape of the heart for this wreath. So when you get to the points and things, make sure you're really paying attention. And if you need to pucker it or gather your ribbon some, totally do that. Nobody is going to notice. So go like that. See, there's my point. I want to make sure that you see the dip down of the heart. So even though it's 4 inches, I kind of gathered it together a little bit there. Go like this. And when I was making this, my ribbon was in 2 pieces, but let me show you why it's no worries. Let me grab another glue stick. What we're gonna do is I'm just going to put some glue and finish that piece right there. Remember, it's sheer, so when you add glue, be careful that that the glue doesn't come through and hurt you. Okay, so we're just gonna keep going around. I'm gonna start it again right next to it. And this time I'm even gonna kind of glue right onto the ribbon that's already there. Oops. So as time goes, they don't separate and you'll never know the trick. It's a secret between us. So you're gonna keep going like this. I glued it, just careful not to burn. And that's why I keep it rolled. You see how, so I can just pull it right through and you just keep wrapping it, pulling it kind of tight, just so it keeps the shape of the heart. Kind of check where it's going. As you get to the end, it unrolls itself. Oh, look, it's looking so pretty. Okay, so I had another little piece All I'm gonna do is glue. So if you have pieces at home, it works. If you buy one of our kits, I promise it's a solid piece, so you don't have to do this part. I'm just gonna go like that. Gonna start here again. And then we're gonna get down to this V point where, again, we want to make sure we keep the heart shape. So I'm gonna show you how we do that. It takes a little folding sometimes. So I take it to here, and I come to this edge, and when I'm to this, I kind of fold this part over, and I'm going to put a little dab of glue so it doesn't slide over that tip, just a little above right here. So when I pull it up, it's gonna stay right there. And then I'll show you afterwards how we can make it cover the point a little more. Okay, then what I'm gonna do, instead of coming up here, I'm going to wrap it this way. And then I'm gonna keep wrapping it this way. See how it still makes that perfect little point? Like that. And I'm gonna put a little more glue on the back, because then if it does come through, you're never gonna see it. It's gonna go on the back. Now, if something happens and your tip keeps showing, like you see the dark part, you can just kind of push it down. You could do a little tiny glue. But there you go. So this is the sign that we're going to add to our wreath. Super cute, really easy. You can make it for any color, any kind of ribbon. So let me pull the wreath back in. Now, again, personal preference. Here's what we're gonna do. You can see if you want it in the center, right on the side. I'm kind of a off-kilter kind of lady, so I like things to be a little angled. Now, there are a few different ways to do this. You can take like a ribbon and just tie it straight around and even add a little bow. I mean, the more the better always. But what I'm going to show you this time is I'm going to put a twine on it so you can't really tell how the heart is attached. Now, remember we did all that looping? You're just going to find one of your loops and you're going to put the ribbon through it. And this one is actually a gridded ribbon, so I can just find any holes and I'm going to pull it right through like that. So now it's hanging. Then I'm going to put it where I want it. Now, if you want your heart hanging right up and down, you're going to want to go in the center. But like I said, I want mine a little tilted, so I put my string just off center. So I'm going to do it like that. And now I'm going to take the twine and I'm going to go, I'll kind of move it so you can see, around the wreath itself. You can either just go right around this, this group of pine, or you can take it and you just kind of work your way between the mesh, because you don't want to flatten your mesh. Kind of work your way between. And you see right here, it's kind of flattening the mesh. I'm just going to take the mesh and pull it over. So now you don't see it. Then on the back, I'm just going to tie it tight enough where the heart isn't hanging low, but not so tight where it's flattening the wreath either. You can tie knots, you can tie bows, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna do that just in case I wanna switch it around. So then you're gonna put it back where you want it and turn your heart. Then what I like to do is, again, go through and touch your ribbon and make it pull around the heart. I don't want any really in the middle of my heart so much, so you see more of the shape. So I'm going to pull ribbon up and over and twist it however you like. And you're just gonna play with it how you want. And that's it. That's it. You have made a ruffled wreath. I'm so excited to see the different color combinations or how your exact wreath turns out. Share pictures, share everything you've made. We really do love to see it. We're a designer DIY family. You inspire us. We hope we inspire you. Thank you so much for your time and for tuning in. See you next video.